Right.
Yeah.
The decision by the Fed is 1 week and 1 day away. You have been very clear that you believe the Fed is going to reduce the rate by 25%, 25 basis points. We've got a lot of conversation right now about the next Fed chairman. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm curious, what are the current odds? I don't even know.
Last time I checked, it's 80 something.
Well, lucky for you, I'm doing it real time. 89.2%.
89 now. Okay.
Yeah. Remember, I was saying this during the last meeting and when everyone thought against it, and we were down to 30% a couple weeks ago. Yeah, look, we're going to get a rate cut. It's interesting. This whole setup's been interesting where Jerome came out very hawkish, essentially saying, it's not a foregone conclusion.
Mhm.
And then he let some of the other Fed speakers come out and essentially change the narrative once again. And it's interesting to see Jerome not control the narrative for this.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost feel like there's a little dog and pony, or not dog and pony. I feel like there's a little game being played here to make the Fed chairman almost seem like they have less power. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but as he's about to give up his seat, it's almost like there's an obvious changing of guard coming, and we're trying to blunt whoever comes in. That's kind of how it feels to me.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Yeah, because right now you have a split Fed, and according to my research, we've had the last time we had a split Fed was like 1968 or something, and it's pretty much split down the middle with the Doves currently leading, but Powell might end up having almost a deciding vote, even though it's 12, and so you can't, you could have 6 against 6. But anyway, that's kind of where we are right now. So, what do you think? I'm assuming that you agree with the betting odds that has it wrapped up. What do you think about Hassett?
Yeah, we talked about this last week where, before the odds even had it up, that was kind of like the rumor. And I was telling you last week that I thought they were kind of leaking this out just to see how they were market testing it. And the markets liked it. And I think it's his seat now. I think he's going to be the next Fed chairman.
Mhm.
So that means Trump's the new Fed chairman in reality. And in many ways, we essentially don't have a Fed anymore, which honestly, at this point, I'm kind of on board with.
Yeah.
I, I, I know that might sound weird. We haven't always had a Fed, right?
Right.
I mean, we have for a long time, essentially since like 1907 or whenever they were founded. Um, but if you look back in history, the big mistakes have come from the Fed.
Right. Right.
The Fed are the ones that have historically screwed things up. And I think even if there was a benevolent, apolitical nature to a Fed at one point, those days are gone.
Yeah.
The Fed's very politicized now. Everything's politicized at this point. And I think the best thing you can do is not have this extra branch of government that's not needed. So, look, Jerome and team were too late to raise rates. They
Mhm.
had this whole transitory narrative. They're wrong. Now they've been, in my opinion, too late. And you can say, well, rates, inflation's not down. It's like, okay, well, you can't have it both ways. Either the tariffs do have an inflationary effect, and the fact that we're only sitting here at 3% tells you that we're actually lower than that, because if we didn't have the tariffs, we'd be lower because tariffs have an inflationary effect, right, Randy? So if that's true, then he should be cutting, because we're only sitting here at 3%. And once we lap a year, you're going to see how negative inflation truly is.
Right.
That's a problem. Or tariffs don't really have an inflationary effect. And sure, we do have this issue, but then the Fed's still screwing up because, well, they're cutting rates. So either way, they're screwing up. Now you can keep going back. In the .com era, they started raising rates, and that tanked the market.
Right.
You can see everything that essentially happened during 08, 09, what they were doing there. Go back to Volcker days. Why is Volcker so famous? Well, because the previous Fed screwed up.
Yeah.
So you can go on and on. Even the Great Depression.
Right.
That was screwed up by the Fed because they didn't come in and use the tools they could have had, but they were also using tools to stop people from investing in the stock market. They were trying to end leverage. So over and over, the Fed is a good idea on paper, but the execution just really hasn't been there. I do think we've had some good Fed chairmen. I think Bernanke, I think he did some good stuff. He he walked into a very tough situation. I think, yeah. So I don't know. I just think at this point, we should just let the market work. Once again, get the government out of it, let the market do what it's going to do. And look, if we crash, we crash, but that's healthy. That's part of life. You get sick sometimes. That's normal. Sometimes even the U.S. economy has to get punched in the face, and it sucks, but it's better to do that and recover properly than to play all these, sleight of hand games, which is what the Fed essentially does.
So just to
sorry, one last thing, and they do it behind this cloak of we're doing it for the people out there who can't afford anything.
Right.
It's like, you idiots, by raising rates, you just make it harder on them.
Right.
And when you raise the rates, all you're doing is prolonging the issue. Right. So it's just insane. And then they're also the ones that create inflation because they're the ones that print the money. Right. So it's just on and on. Like, the Fed's the problem every single time. So anyway, I'll stop.
The future is here. The singularity is coming. Grab your copy today, available now on Amazon in Kindle, print, or Audible. Unlock the future one page at a time. What will you build tomorrow?